Hi. I'm I'm annoyed, very annoyed because just when I start to believe that maybe the Steelers have finally got their stuff together. Maybe they finally have some sort of semblance of a team that can at least like win a playoff game. Maybe they've, you know, put something together where they're like, all right, this team could be more than just a 9-8 middling team that is a meme because of how they win games, and when they face real teams in the postseason, they get the absolute hell beat out of them because they're not actually good. Maybe those days are starting to come to an end. They're coming off a 32-13 win over the Raiders, second most points they've scored in the post Ben Roethlisberger era. The most came last year against Cincinnati when they put up 34 with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. It was a good performance. I talked about the Raiders game going in. I was like, all right, this is probably going to be the same Steelers game we've seen multiple times for the past 3-ish years, where they're facing a team that they are better than, but they're only going to win by one score because they only play one score games. But no, credit to them. They put up 32 against a team that they should score a lot against. The run game actually showed up and looked good. Fields had a big day on the ground as well. His best day on the ground as a Steeler. Najee Harris had one of his best games, maybe his best game as a Steeler, actually. And the defense had 3 takeaways. And after the Raiders' first drive, they didn't score another touchdown until the game was pretty much out of reach. So I was happy. I was like, all right. Now, Justin Fields didn't have the greatest day through the air, especially, I want to say it was the drive after the blocked punt. He missed a couple throws. They settled for a field goal. And in my head, I was like, look, if he doesn't play well, then they probably give Russ the call. Like, if it's a close game, they barely win, or if they lose, yeah, Russ is probably going to start against the Jets. And whatever. But that didn't happen. Justin Fields had a really solid game overall. Passing-wise, like I said, wasn't his best. But the things that he does with his legs, the very reason that he is dynamic and looked at as, one of those guys that can give you more than just his arm, which he has done throughout his career. 59 rushing yards, ran for multiple first downs, escaped multiple would-be sacks, and turned them into positive gains. And overall, played well. And has done that all season. He's got 10 total touchdowns. He only has 1 interception. He currently has a higher EPA per play than Patrick Mahomes. But he's played well. I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and say, oh, he's an elite quarterback. He's played great. No, he hasn't played great. But he hasn't played bad either. I think he's consistently just been slightly above average. And that's fine. 6 points separate the Steelers from a 6-0 record from the 4-2 record that they currently have. 6 points. And they are going to bench Justin Fields. And it makes no sense. And I'm going to get a lot of people who are like, oh, well, what about the quick passing game? Okay. But what also happens when nobody's open, because nobody's been consistently open in this offense because they don't have good receivers, and you need a guy who can maybe extend the play with his legs. You ain't going to have that with Russell Wilson. I know he thinks he can still do it. I got news for you. He cannot. I don't understand the thought process of taking the keys away from a guy who's played well, has you at a tie for the division lead after 6 games, hasn't turned the ball over a lot whatsoever, and has put you in consistent positions to win. And even when you weren't in position to win, put you on his back in a game against Indianapolis and got you in a position to win. And you're going to take the keys away from that guy to give it to a soon-to-be 36-year-old who hasn't played great football over the last 2 years, and a team is actively paying $80 million over the next 2 years to say, go play somewhere else. I have nothing against Russell Wilson. Absolutely nothing against Russell Wilson whatsoever. He's been cool to me anytime that we talked in the locker room in the offseason. I hope that he proves me wrong. This is a stupid decision, and one that makes no sense whatsoever. No sense. Because you're playing The offense is like fine. I don't think it's great, but if you look at every metric compared to what it was last year, it's better. It's a lot better. Here, we'll pull up the advanced metrics right now just to kind of get a glimpse into it, just so I'm not talking out of my ass. But I know from an EPA standpoint, from a scoring standpoint, all of that's better than what it was last year. And I wish I knew who asked the question today during Tomlin's presser, but whomever it was, and maybe somebody out there does know, he asked, well, you guys were 4-2 last year, and Kenny Pickett was playing far worse, and the offense was far worse. You didn't bench him. Why are you benching Justin Fields? And I thought that was a fantastic question. And Mike Tomlin gave some nothing answer, but he's got a point. And I think it all comes back to my theory and a lot of people's theory that they promised Russell Wilson the starting job once they signed him. Now, granted, Kenny Pickett was still on the roster at the time and Justin Fields wasn't. But you're in a business to win games. And sometimes promises got to be broken for the betterment of the team. And right now, Justin Fields is the best quarterback on the team. And Russell Wilson isn't going to give you a whole hell of a lot more, if anything, more than what Justin Fields is giving you, especially from a dual threat perspective. And Dan Orlovsky did a tremendous breakdown of that yesterday on Get Up, where he talks about the hidden yardage that Justin Fields gave them, where he's turning 7-yard losses that could be sacks into first down runs because he has the capability to do that. And again, I do not want to come out as if I'm saying that Justin Fields is like a top 5 quarterback. No. That's a problem, a ginormous problem today with like media literacy. Is like you're either saying that a guy's God or that he's complete garbage. No. What Justin Fields has shown this year is that he's an above average quarterback. Slightly above average quarterback, which, by the way, that is a ginormous upgrade from anything the Steelers have had over the past 3 years since Ben retired. And they're taking the keys away from a guy who have no fear. I am here. Yes, the computer strikes again. So until that gets all situated, I'm going to talk to you like this. So what I was saying is that you now have a guy who is at least showing that he has the semblance to possibly be a franchise guy, right? Where Justin Fields, I'm not expecting him to be an elite quarterback. I'm not. But what he can be is somebody like a Baker Mayfield, somebody like a Sam Darnold, somebody like a Geno Smith, guys who've had career revitalizations because they go to situations that take care of them, that better suit them. Okay, last few years in Chicago, what did Justin Fields have? He had Matt Nagy as his head coach and play caller. That clearly didn't work. Then they bring in Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach, to go with Luke Getsy, a bad offensive coordinator. And the dude still made plays weekly. And he's doing that now. And they've also been doing this with like training wheels on Justin Fields, which I don't like. And he's still finding ways to move the ball downfield, put the ball in the end zone. He's done it 10 times, 5 through the air, 5 on the ground. Like, he's doing things that very few other guys are doing in the league right now. From a total touchdown perspective, he's top 10 in the league. He's not turning the ball over. I just don't understand Mike Tomlin. And that's my biggest thing right now, is that I'm just kind of over Mike Tomlin. And it looks like the computer is back. So we'll hop in and I'll get off here. And we'll continue this conversation. I'll get to all your comments too, by the way. I know I see a lot of them in there. I'm going to get to them. I just needed to get my rant off, and then we'll address what you guys have to say. So let me get back in here real quick, and then we'll continue this. So give me 1 second to do that. Here we go. Lovely. All right. It appears I'm still coming through my phone. Okay. Maybe. All right. So now that we're back, I want to get to your comments. because there's a lot of them. So let me address it. Rob, hello, Rob. If Aaron Rodgers was quarterbacking Sunday night for the Raiders, we would have lost to the Raiders. I mean, I think that's a weird thing to say. That's like saying, well, if they were playing a different team, then they weren't playing a different team. They were playing the guys that they were playing, and they won. So the defense did their job. They beat the hell out of a bad offense, and the offense scored 32 points. So I don't really subscribe to that line of thinking. They will not bench Fields. Russ would have been sacked 7 or 8 times in the last game against the Raiders. Steelers are using this to make the Jets game plan for both. I truly don't know if that's the case. I would love for it to be the case, but with Rappaport and Pelissaro both reporting, hey, like, it's probably going to be Russ, I'm going to take their word for it there. And look, Tomlin can tap dance around it all that he wants. At some point, you got to name a starter. Like, these guys need somebody that they can rally around. You can't just keep dancing around this situation. We are going into week 7. You got to figure this thing out. And so far, he hasn't. And he even said in his presser, like somebody had asked, was like, hey, depending on the play of whoever plays Sunday, will you name a starting quarterback? He said, nope. Okay, Mike. That's another thing, man. I'm tired of hearing about the greatness of Mike Tomlin. Let me get this off. I do want to say this. I don't want to hear about the greatness of Mike Tomlin anymore. I'm done hearing it. And Danny Parkins of Fox Sports the other day said something very similar, and it really resonated with me. And if you hadn't seen it, he made a ton of good points. We can acknowledge that the floor gets raised significantly with Mike Tomlin, but we also have to acknowledge that the ceiling is also incredibly low. Since they won the Super Bowl in 2008, he is 5-9 in the playoffs with losses to Tim Tebow and Blake Bortles. And they consistently have bad losses while not being relatively competitive whatsoever when they do get into the playoffs, because his style and approach to winning is outdated and stale. He wants to hold teams to fewer points rather than score more points. You can't do that in today's NFL. You can't win like you did in 2008. It's just not feasible. Can't do it. You can do it in the regular season against bad teams that are slightly mediocre teams. Can't do it in the playoffs. We've seen what happens when they try to do it in the playoffs. Ask how it went last year against Josh Allen and the Bills. Ask how it went against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. This is a team that, frankly, just isn't serious until they change their their approach to winning and their style of play. And when Dave Damashek, of all people, who's been a very big Mike Tomlin defender, says, all right, I'm out, because they're benching a quarterback that's helping them win and the offense has some level of dynamic to it because of his ability to run, I'm out. I don't think the Steelers are going to this is just going to be a never-ending cycle, the way it has been over the past few years, where, all right, you might win 9-10 games, but you know you're not going to go far in the playoffs. You're probably going to get eliminated right away. So that's my rant. Russ would have lost that game to the Raiders. I can get on board with that because Justin Fields made a lot of drive extending plays with his legs, ran for 2 touchdowns. So I can subscribe to that line of thought. Fields' athleticism is an X factor over Russ. Yeah, I agree. Jared, I hope you have your crow with you next week because you will see the difference when Russ hits the field. I mean, Rob, man, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I appreciate the fact that, you know, you consistently watch and or subscribe and everything like that. I just think that you're incorrect here. You know, I just, again, it's nothing against Russ. I just don't think that he gives you anything better than what Justin Fields gives you. Just don't. So if he does play well and the Steelers win in a game that Russell Wilson looks good, then I will happily eat my crow on it. That's another thing I don't want to get lost here. Like, this isn't so much about Russell Wilson. I have nothing against Russell Wilson, and I hope that he plays well. I just don't think he's gonna. Right? And if I'm wrong, then great. And the Steelers keep winning. That's what I want at the end of the day as a Steelers fan. I want them to win. But not only do I want them to win, I want to feel comfortable with who's under center. That's another thing. Like, they won games with Kenny Pickett. He was 14-10 as their starter, but you knew damn well that they weren't going to go anywhere. Now, against the Jets, it's going to be a little bit different because they have a damn good defense. And I'll be surprised regardless who plays if they win. Like, even if Fields plays, that's going to be a hard game to win. It's at home, but it's a good team. I know the 2-4 record doesn't necessarily show it, but the defense is good. Now, the Steelers defense should be able to take advantage of the Jets offense, but they just added Devontae Adams, so that's going to be a whole other thing that you got to worry about. So, yes, I want them to win, but I want to feel comfortable in who's under center as well. And I knew the last 2 years I couldn't. With every win, that was, a 13-10 win when the offense looked like hell, you knew that there was a very low ceiling on that team. I don't want to feel that way anymore. I felt like they could win a playoff game with Justin Fields under quarterback. I don't think they could win a Super Bowl, but I think that they could have at least won a wild card game. They're tied for the division lead right now. And everybody's, worried about the passing aspect of it. Look, man, the guy in Baltimore isn't exactly, Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. He's a good passer. But what does Lamar Jackson scare you the most? Because he's got great legs and he can run. And even in the early years of his career, he was not a good passer. But Baltimore stuck with him because they knew that they could take advantage of a lot of different things with his legs. And I'm not trying to say that Justin Fields is Lamar Jackson, but there's a lot of similarities there. So, Russell Wilson at almost age 36, he turns 36 next month. I just don't see him having this weird renaissance with bad receivers, with an offensive line that is inconsistent at best. Probably isn't going to have Zach Frazier in the middle. I just don't get it. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. So yeah, I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated because this team finally had what appeared to be, somewhat of a semblance of a potential guy that, could at least be the short-term, long-term guy, right? For maybe a 2-year extension. And if he plays well in those 2 years, then you give him, a little bit more. And yanking the keys from him at this point just feels stupid. Feels incredibly stupid. Watch Wilson get sacked 3 or 4 times a game and start checking down. 9-8 first-round playoff beatdown. Here we come. And as a bonus, next year Fields walks. Yeah, that's another thing that scares me. Because Fields, again, there's only 1 year left on his deal. He'll be a free agent next year. I mean, if I'm him, why would I want to come back to this? If I'm Justin and I ask for a trade, you're not going to Mason me. I wouldn't blame. Sincerely, I would not. If he was like, bro, I've helped this team win 4 games. Damn near helped us win all 6. And you're going to pull me? Send me to Miami. I'll play. So I truly wouldn't blame him if he did that. Tom, the top 5 NFL coach. I don't care. Truly, I just don't think he's that anymore. Not anymore. We can talk about his all-time accomplishments and whatnot, not having a losing season, but at the end of the day, none of that matters if you can't win games that matter. So going into the season, I said he was a top 5 coach. I don't think he's that anymore. There are plenty of head coaches I would take ahead of him going forward. I'm definitely taking Kyle Shanahan right now. Taking Andy Reid right now. Taking Kevin O'Connell right now. Dan Campbell right now. Sean McVay right now. So those are 5 that I would absolutely hand over fist take over Mike Tomlin. I think that he's coasting off a Super Bowl that he won nearly 2 decades ago, and it's incredibly frustrating because his team's not going anywhere. I know a lot of comments are coming in, guys, so bear with me. Some receiver comments. Don't be shocked from DK pulls and Adams trying to get back with Russ, bro. Maybe. I don't know. DK did seem frustrated on Thursday night, so there might be something to that. I don't think that they'll trade him. I don't think that he's one of the guys that'll get moved. I think that there's a lot of guys that will, or potentially will. I think that DeAndre Hopkins is kind of the next big name to watch. But Yeah, a few other people asked me about Christian Kirk. I don't think that one happens. Like, I like Christian Kirk. I don't like him for $27 million. So I don't know if that one happens. But maybe DK, maybe. But in terms of like guys that on a scale of 1 to 10 in confidence that I'll get traded, I think DeAndre Hopkins is like a 9. DK, I'd say like a 6.5. Mahomes won Super Bowl because of his defense last year. The Chiefs' defense was incredible last year, but they also don't win the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. Like, these things aren't mutually exclusive. If they had Kenny Pickett at quarterback, they don't win the Super Bowl. You know, Mahomes still did all the Mahomes stuff. Like, go and watch the Bills playoff game. They scored on nearly every drive. And the only reason they didn't score on one of their drives is because Mecole Hardman fumbled at the goal line against Buffalo. Like, let's not play this stupid game where we say, well, actually, Patrick Mahomes isn't all that good. No, he's great. Let's bench our potential future quarterback for a stopgap and hope it doesn't ruin our chances of re-signing him. Yeah, basically, right? I definitely understand everybody else's frustration because I feel it. I absolutely feel it. I think it's incredibly stupid. When you've got a guy who gives you an extra layer like Fields does compared to Russell Wilson, who we know what he gives you. We've seen it the last 2 years. Now, last year was much better than 2022, but there's clearly a ceiling on that. He's a guy who doesn't have any more of his athleticism left because he's 36. And yeah, like the deep ball stuff's good, but you don't have any receivers that can really play that right now outside of Pickens, who's been inconsistent. So like I just don't get it. Especially right when the run game starts getting going, right? They just ran for over 180 yards against the Raiders. Like, that's what this team wanted to be, and Justin Fields fits that like a glove. Like, it makes no sense to me, man. It makes no sense. Feels like Justin Fields asking for a trade will be the most likely outcome. Like I said, I wouldn't blame him if he did. I don't know if he's gonna. Because, like, you also got to remember, man, like, even if and when Wilson does start this week, which it looks like he's going to, if he plays like hell, they could easily be like, okay, Justin, you're going to be our starter. We're naming you the starter going forward. Then, okay. Then that's great. Chances we end up with DK and D-Hop, 0. They're not trading for both of them. Fields is not staying next year. Yeah, like if the season ends and Fields isn't the starter, then I would agree. He's going to go somewhere else. But at the same time, like if the season ends and Fields isn't the starter, then that means Russell Wilson played well. And then you have a whole other dilemma that you got to figure out of, okay, what do we do with Russell Wilson now? That's a whole other issue. But if they try this Wilson thing and it blows up in their face, like I think it will, and they go back to Fields and say, look, dude, you're going to be our starter. We're going to name you the starter. And come the offseason, we want you to stay here and go into next season knowing that you're the starter. I think he'll stay. That's my guess. Like if he finishes the year with the team behind him and be like, we want you to be the starter. We want you to stay here. You know, then I think he'd stay. Why would he sign here? Where else is he going to go? He's winning here. They got a great defense. And for all my, qualms with Tomlin, you're going to win at least 9 games. You're going to be in the picture. Where else is he going to go? You want to go to Vegas? Okay, go to Vegas. Go get back with Luke Getsy. See how that goes, Justin. He's not dumb. Where the hell else is he going to go? He's been in the system for a year. He knows the system. They're winning games. Why would he leave if they wanted him to be the starter here? There's no reason. Like I said, if he finishes the year as the starter and the Steelers are like, hey, we want to go into next season with you as the starter. We want to re-sign you. I don't think he'd leave. because it wouldn't make sense. Like, I can only speak from my point. Like, if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't leave. Because again, where would he go? Where would he go where he knows that he's going to win games and at least be in the playoff picture? So that's just my guess. If they end the season with Fields as a starter, I think he's the starter next year. If Wilson plays terrible, do you think they change the standard and try to extend Fields midseason? I would say no, but like at the same time, we've come to realize that Omar Khan isn't Kevin Colbert. And a lot of that has to do with, in terms of the in-season extension stuff, has to do with the Rooneys as well. So that would be more so up to them than Kevin. Or I'm sorry, than Omar. But maybe. Fields is 100% going to be Pittsburgh's quarterback of the future, but Russell is Cam and TJ's quarterback now. Again, that doesn't make sense. Because Russell Wilson, like, we know kind of like what he is. And Justin Fields is going to be a free agent next year. So, like, if I'm him, I'm not coming back, signing on to be a backup again next year. If that's the case, then yes, I would leave Pittsburgh. You're like, okay, then I'll go somewhere where I can play, not sit behind the fossil of Russell Wilson. Especially when I've gone 4-2, played well in those 6 games, gave us chances to win all 6 games, led a potential game-winning drive against Dallas, and all you had to do was hold the Cowboys and Rico Dowdle for 4 minutes, and you couldn't do that. If the Steelers hold and don't allow a 16-play game-winning drive, the Steelers are 5-1 right now, and I don't think we're having this conversation. If George Pickens doesn't fumble in the red zone against Indianapolis, we're not having this conversation. But alas, all of those things did happen, and here we are. Mike Williams would low-key be a W pickup, not saying he'll fix the problems, but he'll definitely fix some. I mean, yeah, he would be the instant number 2. So I wouldn't be against Mike Williams. $10 million hit, though. I think the Jets would have to eat a little bit of that. But yeah, if you want to call him up, hey, we'll give you a 6th-round pick for Mike Williams. Or hell, just give him one of the 7s that you got from the Philadelphia trade. A 7 this year and a 6 next year. I think that even that's too much. You give him one day 3 pick for Mike Williams. That's all he's worth at this point. Respectfully to Mike Williams. Michael Thomas is still out there. That would be an upgrade at this point. I know that I was very not on board with signing Michael Thomas in the offseason, but he's better than Van Jefferson. And he'll give you the underneath, like he'll get open. I'll say that. Credit to Michael Thomas. He does one thing, but he does it well. He'll run that slant and be open. Don't let Broncos fans fool you. Russ still got it. Broncos fans aren't fooling me, dude. I've watched Russell Wilson. He does not still have it. At least not to that degree. Not to the degree that I think Fields can take them to. Now, a lot of people, I don't think that Russ is god-awful. I also don't think that I just don't understand what people think they are getting when you put in Russell Wilson. This isn't 2013 Russell Wilson. This isn't Russell Wilson who threw for 40 touchdowns in a year. This is current day Russell Wilson. And every time I ask, what is Russell Wilson going to give this team? Is a winning pedigree. He won a Super Bowl during the Obama administration, man. I don't give a shit about that, frankly. I don't, again, it's nothing against Russ. It just doesn't make sense to pull. If they were 2-4, then yeah, put in Russ and see what you got. But they're not. They're 4-2 and tied for the lead in the division. And Justin Fields has given them an opportunity to win all 6 games. Had they been 2-4, then okay. Yeah, you give the keys to Russ, you try Justin Fields, not necessarily working, then okay. I completely understand that. But Justin Fields has played pretty well. And you're 4-2. And you're on top of the division. Why would you change anything right now? You just put up 32 points. You have constantly struggled to do that. Why are you changing now? It makes no sense, bro. It makes no sense. No sense altogether. We'll find out the hard way. 2 losses by 6 points. Yeah, exactly, man. Like it's if Wilson goes out this week and the Jets defensive line just eats him alive and there's a bunch of sacks and the offense stinks and they lose like a 16-10 game, you're gonna play Russell Wilson again? Or are you just gonna admit, okay, we tried. Come back in, Justin. Hopefully that's what you do. But this stuff is beyond frustrating, man. Beyond frustrating. So that's just my thoughts on it. They shouldn't bench Fields, regardless of what Russ was promised coming into the year, because Justin Fields wasn't here when he signed. Kenny Pickett was still there. And it just makes no sense, and it's stupid to do it. So, nope, they're going to play the Jets. They're going to play a good defense in the Jets, and we're going to find out very quickly, okay, what you got, Russell Wilson? And look, if he balls out, I'll happily admit that I was wrong. But if it goes the way I think it's going to go, then I expect everybody else to admit, okay, yeah, that was dumb. Put Fields back in. So we'll see. I'm going to hope that they win. Always do. But I fear a Kenny Pickett situation is coming where if they do win and Russ plays like hell, everybody's just going to point to, well, they won. Okay, sure. But the quarterback didn't play well. And it's clear that they don't mind benching a quarterback after a win now. So why wouldn't they do it after beating the Jets? So this team takes the life out of me so much. Like rooting for this team genuinely just drains me at this point, especially over the past few years. Like I just don't understand the long-term plan here. I really don't. That's incredibly frustrating. I want to root for a team that I know I can believe in. I want to root for a coach that I know has a chance to take this team to a Super Bowl. But right now, they don't have that, frankly speaking. I know the players love him. I know TJ loves him. I know Cam loves him. There's PQ signed there because, Mike Tomlin's there. Elliott did the same thing. And that's great. I don't dislike Mike Tomlin, the guy. But Mike Tomlin, the head coach, I'm kind of out on. It's kind of out on it, man. There's a clear and obvious ceiling here. I'm tired of hearing all the standards of standard. You can't box without sparring. They put ketchup on our hot dogs like everybody else does. Like, bro, I don't care about your goofy verbiage. Just please go win a game that matters. And he hasn't done that in 8 years. Any other coach, any other city would have moved on by now. He's basically Marvin Lewis with better PR. And that's what it's turned into. Over the past 8 years. Not overall. Obviously, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. That's great, but it's been a long time. So, all right. I just needed a rant. Been ranting a lot on Twitter. I do that. This is very grateful that I get to talk about ball for a living. Being a fan is still a big part of that. And it comes out a lot, especially in days like this. So if you guys aren't already subscribed, please do so. Like the video, helps out the channel. Go and watch the latest episode of The Pump Fake. That is on the channel. Me and my buddy Brent Sobleski from Bleacher Report going over the Devontae Adams trade, a little bit more of this conversation, and a little bit of Week 6 recap. So go and watch that. Again, it's on the channel right now. Talked about Amari Cooper being traded to the Bills as well. That's its own separate little video. So I've done a lot today on the channel. So if you're here, you're not already subscribed, and you like me or you enjoy this type of conversation and content, please subscribe and watch and like and do all that YouTube stuff. Be back later on in the week to preview week 7 around the NFL. Who will it be with? I don't know yet. Will it be JP Acosta? Maybe. Go subscribe also to AFC North Talk. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk about everything that happened. And I assume talk about more of this. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Subscribe to the video or subscribe to the channel, like the video. See you guys very soon. Have a good day.